From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, massive protests across the country. Organised Labour leads demonstrations to demand an end to what they describe as anti-people policies by government. The President promises immediate action to address issues raised by the Organised Labour, meets with the leaders of the NLC and TUC in Abuja. And 2 women and 5 more former governors make the second batch of 19 ministerial nominees transmitted to the Senate by the President for confirmation.
On business news tonight, United Kingdom government launches multi-million pounds climate change program targeting 4 million Nigerians to address challenges in the country's food and land use system.
On sports news tonight, South Africa's Banyana make history after beating Italy 3-2 to reach the Women's World Cup last 6.
Price of petrol in the nation's capital. It's a carnival of sorts, with workers waving their flags in the air and displaying placards with messages articulating their demands. They file out of the Unity Fountain, singing solidarity songs as they go. Their first port of call is the Ministry of Justice, occupying the entrance for over 30 minutes. The protesters leave the Justice Ministry towards their main destination, which is the National Assembly. However, access into the National Assembly did not come easy. Protesters had to force their way through the gates, bringing it down. The protesting workers marched straight into the premises of the National Assembly and gather at the concourse. Here, the NLC president restates their demands.
We demand the immediate implementation in good faith of all resolutions with Congress jointly signed with the government and TUC. Immediate reversal of all anti-poor policies of government, including the recent hike in PMS price, school fees, and VAT.
The federal lawmakers here promised to give speedy consideration to the requests.
I am begging you to call off the strike and give us 1 week, and we will report progress. And if you are are not satisfied with the progress we are making, then you can take further action. This should serve as a warning to the presidency, to the National Assembly, to everybody. Then if nothing very tangible comes out of our effort, then you can take action.
Just give us a chance to get involved, just a little chance, and we will make sure if things are not resolved in your favor, I am representing you. You can trust me.
Promises have been made, and the Labour leaders seem to be giving the lawmakers the benefits of the doubts.
In organized labor, we don't run for meetings, like I said over there. Whenever you call us for meetings, we are there. But when we are in that meeting, we assess what you are telling us. When you are in that meeting, we look at everything. Those things, are you really serious about this, or is it just a jamboree? And we will also address Nigerians. So they have said 1 week, so we will go back now and we'll re-examine the situation and we'll communicate to Nigerians.
The demands of organized labor include the immediate reversal of the recent hike in the price of petrol, the implementation of resolutions with the federal government, immediate fixing of the refineries, payment of 8 months' salary arrears of university lecturers, amongst others. In the next 1 week, many of these workers will be watching keenly to see how their demands will be attended to, as promised by the federal lawmakers.
Meanwhile, in Lagos, the protesters marched through some of the major streets to the Lagos State House of Assembly, where they presented their claims, which includes the need for the government of the day to probe funds spent on fixing the refineries that were received by the state Deputy Governor, Femi Hamzat, who says the demands by the unions will be looked into. Our correspondent Chris Hillems reports.
It's D-Day, and members of the Labour Congress and its affiliates are out on the streets of Lagos to drive home their demand for a better country. The messages are written on the various banners displayed. Let poor Nigerians breathe, fix their refineries, reduce the cost of governance, and save the masses from poverty and hunger, amongst others. To avoid hoodlums hijacking the peaceful protest, the police are on standby. One by one, the union leaders take turns to address the crowd, united in the struggle.
The message we are here to pass to the sitting and incumbent government of President Bola Tinubu is that Nigerian workers, the entire Nigerian masses, are suffering. It has even gone beyond suffering. Our people are dying on a daily basis.
How can few people, cabal, be cornering trillions and we cannot identify them?
We are only awaiting the result of the NLC because it's just a day action. And luta continua.
The procession continues after the brief stopover. Destination is the Lagos State House of Assembly, where they are to present their demands.
We are suffocating, and we can no longer. We know that the state government is trying. This January,
the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Femi Hamzat, will receive them, takes time out to address the crowd.
We will meet very, very soon. We will read the letter and then we will hear from your leadership. I want to thank you because this is a peaceful protest. And like we said in a democracy, it is fundamental. So I want to thank you and may God bless you all.
With the protest done, some of the unionists expressed their reservations.
The Buhari regime in 8 years spent 11 trillion naira on importation of fuel. If we fix our refinery, we have no business importing fuel. In fact, we should be exporting petroleum products and be as rich as other oil-producing countries. So you cannot continue to punish the Nigerian people for the irresponsibility of the Nigerian ruling class. That's what is going on.
In our sector, there's no regulation. There's nothing called minimum wage, as I'm talking about. There is no palliative. There is no standardization. As I'm talking to you, we still have some of our members collecting as low as 10,000 naira.
Well, the protest has been done, and of course the demands have been made. Now the unionists would wait to see if the government would accede to their request, because they say that is the only time they will drop this struggle. From Alausa in Lagos, Chris Alems, Channels Television News.
Well, the protests also held across the state in the south. This report captures the processions, demands and responses in some of the states.
We begin in Rivers State in the South-South, where hundreds of members of the Nigeria Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress, and the civil society in the state marched on the streets of Port Harcourt as part of the nationwide protest by the organized labor. The protest began from the state secretariat of the Nigeria Labour Congress on Ugboku Street in the D-line area of the city, with men from the Nigeria Police Force deployed for necessary protection and coordination. In Cross River, the union took the protest to the State House of Assembly and then to the governor's office, where they demand a minimum wage of 200,000 naira or return of fuel subsidy. Deputy Governor of the state assures them that the government will ensure a fair palliative is provided.
I want to assure you that government is with you on this. The same place you buy fuel is where we buy fuel. That's why I let you understand. Hang on a minute. So that we can hear ourselves. Your message that you have delivered today will be passed. We will carry your message to the government.
Marching through the streets of Asaba to the Delta State Government House, the protesting unions say the increase in the price of fuel to over 600 naira, occasioned by the removal of fuel subsidy, is way beyond the reach of an average Deltan and workers in the state. They say workers now spend over 70% of their salaries on transportation alone in the midst of other expenses. Now to the southeast, Labour leaders in Imo State joined their counterparts across the country for the nationwide protest. The protesters who gathered at Hero Square want the federal government to make all dilapidated refineries in the country functional, increase minimum wage and reduce the price of petrol. In Enugu, members of the Labour Union Congress marched from the Congress Secretariat to the Government House, bearing placards with various inscriptions at the Government House. The leader of the union asked the Deputy Governor to take their plight and suffering to the President. They say his policies are biting hard on the Nigerian workers.
Tell him that we are dying. We are not happy. And if the people you are leading are not happy, it means you are not also happy.
In the southwest, in Osun State, the protesters converged on the popular Okefia roundabout in Oshogbo, the state capital, before moving to Olaiya on the bridge, Nelson Mandela Freedom Park, and other major streets before terminating the peaceful demonstration at Aregbe Park, where they addressed their members and other residents.
That policy, subsidy,
as practiced in Nigeria, is a scam. And we know that that policy has been implemented to favor the rich, who are getting scandalously richer. So what we are saying is that in doing that, the process of achieving the removal must not hurt the people to the point of death.
In Abeokuta, union members marched through major streets demanding good governance, reversal of the fuel pump price to 197 naira per litre, investment in the education sector, health and critical infrastructure. To ensure the protest is not hijacked by hoodlums, police and other security operatives were deployed at strategic locations to maintain peace and order.
In part two, after the break, we have more on the organized labor protests. Plus, ECOWAS chiefs of defense staff meet in Abuja, seek the restoration of democratic governance in the Republic of Niger. That's the moment. Do join us again. From Channels Television, a reminder of our top stories. Massive protests across the country. Organized labor leads demonstrations to demand an end to what they describe as anti-people policies by government. The president promises immediate action to address issues raised by labor, meets with the leaders of NLC and TUC in Abuja. 2 women and 5 more former governors make the second batch of 19 ministerial nominees transmitted to the Senate by the president for confirmation. And former U.S. President Donald Trump has been charged with plotting to overturn his 2020 election defeat. Staying with the labor protests, this time in parts of northern Nigeria, our correspondents across the region report that the unions also took to the streets of the state capitals to show their displeasure with the impact of the fuel subsidy removal.
As early as 8 a.m., members of the organized labor in Kogi State gathered under the Ganaja flyover in Lokoja, the state capital. They are joining the nationwide protest to lament the impact of the fuel subsidy removal on Nigerians. Staying in Nigeria's north-central region, the protests were also held in Ilorin, the Kwara state capital, Minna, the Niger state capital, Makurdi, the Benue state capital, as well as Jos, the Plateau state capital. They all protested at their various government houses, where officials of their state governments received them with a promise to take steps to address their concerns.
The removal of all subsidy has bring hardship to the Nigeria as a country, not to the richest, not to the common man alone. It affects everyone in the nation.
This is just the first shot. We want government and all our ruling class to hear us and hear us clearly. This is just the first shot. We are going to continue to shoot for as long as they continue to torment us with draconian, anti-people, ill-conceived policies.
In northwest Nigeria, specifically in Kano, the protest started at the state library through the streets of the ancient city to the government house. Similar protests were also organized in other parts of the region, including Kaduna, Gazelle, the Zamfara state capital, Sokoto, and Katsina. They lamented the high cost of living, which they believe the fuel subsidy removal has exacerbated.
We are very much aware that our 4 refineries are no more working. Are they working? No! Do you used to see the children, something? No. Is there children? No!
the policies. We say no to it because it doesn't favor the Nigerian people and the workers. Then the increase in electric tariff, we cannot bear with it. Then the tuition fees for tertiary institution, that if in a situation you want to cripple a country, you need not to go into war. You just go and cripple their education sector.
The demonstrators also took to the streets in parts of northeast Nigeria. They had placards with inscriptions to state their displeasure at the situation.
We feel no one on earth that will suffocate anybody. Labor, workers, and people of Bauchi and Nigeria must breathe. Is that
the effect of the subsidy removal?
I'm going to roll out my plans for you before Monday. And I'm going to still meet with the union, labor union, market, Friday, right? So we are meeting. By the time we finish discussing, then we'll come up with a plan, and then all of us will work to achieve that plan.
Several state governments across the northern region are also promising to take steps to address the impact of the fuel subsidy removal.
Meanwhile, the president is promising that some of the issues raised by the labor unions will receive immediate action. This was conveyed by the leaders of the unions after meeting with President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa following the protests by organized labor. The labor leaders say they will report to the executive, where a decision will be taken on the ongoing protest with all the issues considered.
The issues are the same issues that led to the protest today. And we have, he has expressed his position, made some commitment, which we are taking side by side with what the National Assembly said, the Senate said. And we're taking it back to the office with our colleagues there to review it and release a document on our next line of action. We have gone deeper into them. You know, the brokers are broader issues, but there are one or two things that need immediate attention. No one person can call it off. That's why I say we have to go back to the office so that they will look at it, the ESCO looks at it before they come up. And by tomorrow, the NSC will have equally their next meeting, you know, to look at a bigger picture.
The president tell you to suspend the protest?
The president is a pro-democratic activist, so he understands protests.
Well, staying with the relations between the federal government and the unions, a contempt proceeding against the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress has been filed by the federal government for allegedly embarking on an industrial action contrary to a June the 5th, 2023 ex parte order by the National Industrial Court. The contempt notice notes that unless they obey the directions contained in the order of the National Industrial Court, Abuja, delivered by Honorable Justice Y. Anyuwe on June the 5th, 2023, the union leaders will be guilty of contempt of court and will be liable to be committed to prison. The federal government also attached a copy of the ex parte order made by Justice Anyuwe on June the 5th, 2023 to the notice of contempt proceeding forwarded to the NLC and TUC officials. The court also ordered that the NLC and TUC be immediately served with the originating processes and the suit, the motion on notice, and the order of the court. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Labour Congress says workers will resume at the court on the days of the court sittings to hear the contempt proceedings against the leaders of the unions. Staying with the presidency, the British Foreign Secretary, Honourable James Cleverly, says the United Kingdom welcomes the decisive action of the President and ECOWAS on the political situation in the Republic of Niger. Mr. Cleverly also applauded President Bola Tinubu's position that violence is not the means to bring about political change, as well as his commitment to democracy in Nigeria and the region. He was speaking after his meeting with the president at the presidential villa.
I took this opportunity to pass on our congratulations on his election and to commend him on the important reform program that he has set about, which we believe will make Nigeria an even more attractive destination for UK inward investment. And we committed to work even more closely still on important issues of defence and security, of trade and investment, ensure that we turn his desire for a strong bilateral relationship into action. Of course, we touched briefly on the situation in Niger. I made the point that the UK very much welcomes ECOWAS's and his indeed decisive action, his strong commitment to democracy, and the unambiguous message that violence is not the means to bring political change in any circumstance, and that the commitment to democracy in Nigeria and in the region is unwavering. This very much supports the UK's position. We wish to see peace and democracy restored in Niger, and we will of course continue to liaise with our strong friends in the region.
The UK Foreign Secretary was also at the United Nations Humanitarian Air Service in Abuja, where he viewed the agency's aircraft and met officials of the agency. He said that in the past 12 months, the UK has provided over £38 million of humanitarian assistance in northeast Nigeria, adding that the funding is to protect the people, build their resilience to the ongoing crisis, and prevent famine in the region. Still ahead on the news at 10. The UK launches multi-million pounds climate change programme targeting 4 million Nigerians to address challenges in the nation's food and land use system. That's on Business News. Do join us again. Welcome back. In other stories, defense chiefs from the ECOWAS region are calling for the restoration of the democratic governance in Niger Republic. They took this position at an extraordinary meeting in Abuja hosted by Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa. General Musa highlighted the need to stem the rising cases of coup across the region and make room for peace and development.
Please be seated.
Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, is leading his contemporaries across the ECOWAS sub-region to this extraordinary meeting to discuss how to restore constitutional order in Niger Republic. The meeting comes after the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government issued a warning of the potential use of force on the leaders of the coup after an ultimatum to restore President Mohamed Bazoum to power.
The political instability in Niger is a source of grave concern for us all. It threatens our shared vision of a peaceful, secure and prosperous West Africa, a vision that is impossible to achieve amidst political upheavals and disruptions to constitutional order. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us to deliberate on this issue and chart a course towards resolution, in accordance with the principles of democracy, rule of law and respect for human rights.
Those present at the meeting are the defense chiefs from Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia, Togo, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, Cape Verde, Senegal, Benin Republic, Guinea-Bissau. The representatives of Niger, Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso were absent from the meeting. Also present is the Commissioner for Political Affairs of ECOWAS, who issued a warning that the regional body is prepared to act against the leaders of the coup.
We are at an inflection point now. It seems like President Bola Tinubu is being challenged. Soon after this declaration, we have, this coup, and there is a need, to demonstrate that we can go beyond backing and that we can bite. And that is the reason why we are gathered here today. We count so much on you. ECOWAS is guided by rules, by protocols. In particular, the protocol relating to the mechanism for conflict prevention, management, resolution, peacekeeping, and security.
For the next 2 days, the defense chiefs are expected to work out modalities towards a peaceful resolution of the political crisis in Niger, all within the 7-day ultimatum issued by the ECOWAS leadership.
And we're off to Abuja studios for more stories. Victor Matthias is waiting. Hi, Victor. Good to see you. It's been quite the news day today.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a day. It's good to see you as well, and welcome to the nation's capital. Now, the Senate has received a new batch of 19 ministerial nominees from President Bola Tinubu. The President's Chief of Staff, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, delivered the new list as the Senate screened the remaining nominees in the first batch. National Assembly correspondent Linda Higbe reports.
We saw nominees take a bow and exit the stage. Some asked probing questions, and one nominee was overcome with emotions mid-presentation. All this in the last 3 days of the ministerial screening in the Senate.
Mr. Nominee, sir.
President Bola Tinubu's spokesman, Mr. Dele Alake, opens Wednesday's screening exercise. He's asked pointed questions on protecting the freedom of the press and regulating the social media.
The social media has two sides. There is a positive side, there is a negative side. The downside is so detrimental to good and decent society. So I will recommend a strengthening of our regulations and application of those regulations.
The minority leader also quizzes him about a remark he made during the presidential campaigns to the displeasure of the majority leader.
I read a statement where you label supporters of a particular presidential candidate as wild dogs, buying blood on social media. Have you come across that statement? Are you aware of it?
The minority leader was raising questions that bordered on campaign. This had happened several months ago. And if we are here as senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria screening ministerial nominees, we are not supposed to bring in issues that had come and gone.
Next up is Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, who speaks passionately and exhaustively on the judiciary, the rule of law, as well as noted eyebrow-raising practices by some anti-corruption agencies.
If I have my way, I will advise the president to unbundle. First of all, bring ICPC and EFCC together, unbundle them. Investigation should not be handled by the same body. There must be a supervisory authority within the same system. If there is investigation, it is another body. Prosecution is another body. It doesn't augur well to ask the same authority to, do investigation, come and do prosecution. That is where we have problems.
Medical expert Dr. Ali Pate is also before the Senate, and the questions center on vaccine independence, wealth of medical workers, and resources for the health sector. Another nominee, Dr. Doris Uzoka, answered questions on the business and investment environment.
We need to look at the conditions of service, the circumstances, the compensation, and in a way, re-energize the sector around the mission, because no one joins the health sector who is not committed to serving his or her patients.
If we improve the land reform of each state, because the businesses are within the state, the economy of this country is within the state, and that's the responsibility of the state governors. There should be a deliberate attempt to improve businesses.
For the second time, the President's Chief of Staff arrives the Senate chamber with a second batch of nominees. The list contains 19 names. Prominent on the list are 5 former governors: Adegboyega Oyetola, Atiku Bagudu, Bello Matawale, Ibrahim Gaidam, and Simon Lalong. Some former lawmakers also made the cut, namely Senators Aliyu Abdullahi, Heineken Lukubiri, as well as Representatives Zephaniah Jisalo and Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu. The new nominees are expected to proceed for documentation immediately, while the screening will resume on Friday, August 4th, 2023. Linda Kibe, Channels Television News.
Now to party politics. The People's Democratic Party has vowed to retain Bayelsa State in addition to reclaiming Imo and Kogi states in the forthcoming governorship elections in the states. The acting national chairman of the party, Mr. Umar Damagun, made this declaration as he inaugurated campaign councils that he says will ensure the victory of the party in the polls. He also officially presented certificates of return to the governorship candidates of the party in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states. And that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Millicent, in Lagos.
Many thanks, Victor. Well, the governor of Enugu State, Mr. Peter Mbah, he has inaugurated the Committee on Verification and Payment of Outstanding Pensions and Gratuities to Retirees in the state. Speaking shortly before inaugurating the committee, Governor Mbah said the move is in keeping with his campaign promise to clear pension and gratuity arrears, adding that it would inject billions of naira into the state's economy on a monthly basis. He also stated that the payment will help cushion the effect of subsidy removal and raise the purchasing power of vulnerable citizens.
It is my honor and privilege to inaugurate this Committee on Verification, Payment of Outstanding Pension and Gratuity of our state retirees. The terms of reference for this committee will be as follows. 1 is to determine and verify outstanding 2 months pension arrears to state retirees. 2, to determine and verify the outstanding gratuities owed to state retirees. 3, to conduct all payments according to months, years of retirement of officers from service. And finally, to render monthly and quarterly reports to the Secretary to the State Government in respect of all payments.
Now for business news, here's Anne Wilder.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. Members of Nigeria Labour Congress began their planned protest over the economic challenges caused by the removal of fuel subsidy by the federal government. And this is coming after oil workers under the aegis of the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association began an indefinite strike on Tuesday, citing inhumane treatment by the management of the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission. And however, observations made by Channels television shows although the nationwide protest held in most parts of Lagos, the country's commercial capital, many business activities were not affected, while members of the Road Transport Worker Union said they will not partake in the industrial action. The NLC has now demanded that the minimum wage of workers be increased to 200,000 naira, as well as the reverse of fuel price to 185 naira per litre to assuage the hardship caused by the removal of subsidy. To company news now, the need to engage technology in deepening the penetration of the Takaful insurance model in Africa was the crux of the matter at the African Takaful Non-Interest Finance Conference right here in Lagos, organized by the insurance company. Speakers included the 14th Emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi II, implored industry players to leverage the offerings of modern-day tools to expand the horizon of insurance policy.
It's the African Takafu, a non-interest finance event happening in Lagos, Nigeria, and players from the non-conventional insurance industry are gathered. The essence is to find ways of deepening the Takafu non-interest finance culture, leveraging technology in Africa.
Our decision to organize an annual conference underscores our commitment to deepen what is a nascent industry. There is also the fundamental need to safeguard fairness in the financial systems, which is usually taken for granted while never quite assured in supposedly modern democratic economies.
Special guest is the 14th Emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi II. He is of the opinion that the resolve to use technology to drive the Takafu plan is quite apt.
In Islamic law, there's always a distinction between what is called wasila and gaya. Wasila is just a means. And the means themselves don't have any implication in themselves. So long as your products are in compliance with Sharia, the technology that you use is permissible, so long as the products themselves are permissible.
The National Insurance Commission shows its presence, as well as other experts and industry leaders.
We have a great opportunity to go down and to serve the bottom of the population pyramid, but to serve the bottom of population pyramid, actually we need to have a new products and to use technology.
Driving this conference is New Takafu Insurance Limited, and the management says with them it's a win-win situation.
As a participant in a Takafu policy or plan, you get better treatment, you get faster claims payments, you get to enjoy equity and fairness. More importantly, you also get surplus when you don't make a claim at the end of your policy year.
The conference is one of the many ways New Takafu Insurance is demonstrating its resolve to keep changing the narrative in the insurance business, alongside several other products on offer.
The United Kingdom has announced a £55 million contract and £2.89 million grant to address environmental, social and economic challenges in Nigeria's food and land use system. The British High Commission made this known today in a statement released by the UK's Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly. This initiative is part of £95 million PropCon, and the new program, which kicked off in May this year, will enable the adoption of sustainable agricultural practices and climate resilience, are reducing emissions and protecting natural ecosystems. From there, let's head to the stock market, where it recorded its first positive close in the new month. I'm sure Amy John Mekwa has some good news. Thank you so much, and welcome to the Stock Market Report. That's right, the bull is back. After 5 negative consecutive trading sessions, the bull returns, albeit with marginal gains. We see there 0.12% and still at 64,267.36. And yes, the market cap has not regained that 35 trillion naira, even though it looks close, 34.97 right there. We look at the activity chart for midweek. It's less activity on Wednesday compared to Tuesday. So we see everything in the red, from volume at 330 to value 4.26 billion, as well as deal. But it's still good for some other people. That's why the market mover today gained a whooping 2 naira 95 kobo to close at 32 naira 65 kobo. And guess how much it moved in the market today? 316 million naira, just Dangote sugar. This is the market mover for today. At least we have one green there. Hopefully we'll have more greens tomorrow. That's a stock market report. Back to you. Thank you, Amy. Let's find out how other markets around the world fared at the close of trade. And that's business news. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. It's back to you, Millicent.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Anne. Former US President Donald Trump has hit out at corruption scandal and failure, claiming he never had so much support on anything before, following his being charged with plotting to overturn his 2020 election defeat. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international stories and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The former US President Donald Trump has been charged with plotting to overturn his 2020 election defeat.
Charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding.
U.S. Special Counsel Jack Smith announced the third indictment against Donald Trump in 4 months. He is accused of 4 counts, including conspiracy to defraud the U.S., tampering with a witness, and conspiracy against the rights of citizens. The indictment ends an inquiry focused on Mr. Trump's actions in the 2-month period between his loss to Joe Biden and the riot in Washington, D.C., where his supporters stormed Congress as lawmakers certified the Democrats' victory.
Today, do not want to see our election victory stolen.
Mr. Trump, who is again running for president, denies wrongdoing. On social media, he calls the case ridiculous. The Republican politician has already been charged in 2 other cases. The U.S. Attorney General called it the largest investigation in the Justice Department's history.
So immediately after the January 6th attack on our democracy, the career men and women of the Justice Department engaged in what has become the largest investigation in our history. In November last, I appointed Jack Smith, a special counsel, to take on the ongoing investigation in order to underline the department's commitment to accountability and independence. Mr. Smith and his team of experienced, principled career agents and prosecutors have followed the facts and the law wherever they lead.
A Russian drone strike has hit Ukrainian port facilities at Izmail on the River Danube, a short distance from NATO member state Romania. Video released by Ukraine's operational command showed fire crews working on site of the damaged port infrastructure in Izmail. A grain warehouse, a passenger building, and an elevator for loading grain have all been damaged. Russia began targeting Ukraine's ports after abandoning a UN deal that enabled both countries to export grain safely across the Black Sea. Soldiers and police in El Salvador have surrounded the entire central Cabanas department as part of President Nayib Bukele's ongoing war against gangs. The president said that 7,000 soldiers and 1,000 police officers had established a security fence. The aim is to stop gang members leaving and to break their supply chains. More than 70,000 suspected members have been arrested since March 2022, when a state of emergency was declared after a spike in gang-related murders. Flights evacuating Europeans from Niger have arrived in France and Italy. France began evacuating its citizens from Niger amid anti-French sentiment following last week's coup, 262 people arriving in Paris. The coup has prompted demonstrations against the former colonial power, with the French embassy coming under attack. Germany has urged its nationals to take up France's offer to help other Europeans, as Italy organised a flight which arrived in Rome just after 5 a.m. local time on Wednesday, with 87 evacuees.
But we would like to thank the government of Italy for everything that they've done. So it's really been fantastic to have the citizens brought to safety. And so now I know that they're looking after the Italian citizens and we're looking after the American citizens.
The former Ivory Coast president, Henry Konan Bedie, part of an old guard of politicians who dominated politics in the West African nation for a generation, has died at the age of 89. Bedie served as Ivory Coast's second ever president after independence from France in 1960. He ruled from 1993 until an economic slump and allegations of corruption led to his ousting in a military coup in 1999. And the firm that owns Twitter, now called X, is suing an anti-hate organization whose research criticized the platform. X Corporation has accused the Center for Countering Digital Hate, which has offices in the US and the UK, of unlawful acts to improperly gain access to its data. In response, CCDH accused ex-corporation owner Elon Musk of trying to silence anyone who criticised him. Mr. Musk has previously said he is a free speech absolutist. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. Let's begin with the exciting news that, yes, they did it. South Africa's Banyana braced the odds to make double history in a day by winning their very first match in the Women's World Cup with a stunning 3-2 victory over Italy to advance to the last 16. Also for the very first time in their campaign, the Sky Stadium in Wellington, New Zealand, came alive when Captain Thembi Galana scored the winner in the 92nd minute and set up a meeting with 2019 finalists in Netherlands on Sunday. So we always say, go Africa. Well, unfortunately, it's a different story for Brazil, who have crashed out of the Women's World Cup in a disappointing fashion after losing to Jamaica, who have now qualified for the knockout stages. It was a cagey encounter in Melbourne, and Jamaica put in a stubborn defensive display to ensure the impressive turnout still has a chapter, while Brazil failed to progress for the first time in 28 years. Now, same with the Women's World Cup, Morocco coach Reynald Pedros insists that his team is determined to book a place in the knockout stages of the Women's World Cup. Morocco, who are level with Germany on 3 points in Group H with a substantially worse goal difference, are eager to extend their stay as they prepare to upstage Colombia at the Perth Rectangular Stadium in Australia. And away from football, women's football this time, Italian goalkeeper Gianluigi Buffon has retired from football after 28 solid years. Buffon, who in 2016 or 2006 lifted the World Cup, won 10 Serie A titles and with Juventus and a League One title with PSG. Widely regarded as one of the greatest keepers of all time, the 45-year-old ended his career where he started it at Parma. And that's it on sports. Millicent is back to you, and go Africa.
You can say that again, Jeff. Many thanks. And the main news again. Organised Labour today held massive protests across the country to demand an end to what they describe as anti-people policies by government. The protesters condemned the recent hike in the price of petrol occasioned by the removal of fuel subsidy. Also today, President Bola Tinubu has promised immediate action to address issues raised by Labour as he met with the leaders of the NLC and TUC in Abuja. That's your news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.